slide deck for you that is that'll go through some of the programs that NOHFC has. Just to note, NOHFC, we often get referred to as employees of NOHFC, but and we don't say this all the time, but because we're all sort of new here, I just want to point of clarification that Ian, Sean, and I actually work for the Ministry of Northern Development, which is a little bit separate from NOHFC. It's its own corporation, and in many of the files that you may deal with your own local advisors, you probably won't even notice that distinction, but there is a little bit of a distinction. So our role is to connect you with NOHFC. They are kind of their own thing, based in Sault Ste. Marie, and they don't have really all that many staff themselves, but and today we're going through some of the NOHFC programming, and we're sort of the conduits to connect communities and private businesses that might be in your communities to that programming. So just wanted to make that clarification now. It's not something I bring up all the time, but because I know some people are new, thought it would be a good opportunity to do that. So Andrea, I think you're going to run the slide deck for us. Awesome. So if you want to bring that up now. MND, previously a bunch of different iterations, but lately our last iteration is just the Ministry of Northern Development, our own standalone ministry. And we serve, if we can just might as well go into the second slide right there. So we serve Northern Ontario. This is how we define Northern Ontario. Goes all the way down, but not including the district municipality of Muskoka, which there was some parts in the news that talked about how they might want to join, but at this point, this is our definition of Northern Ontario. So moving into the next slide, we can talk about some of the programs. So we have programs in 4 different buckets. For private businesses that might be in your communities, and for also the communities themselves that are looking to enhance some existing infrastructure or have some new infrastructure. So they fall under these 4, and between myself and my colleagues, we're going to go through these 4 today. So I will kick us off with talking about the Invest North program. So next slide, Andrea. The Invest North program, as it says here, is designed to help economic growth. So this is one that the businesses in your community and you as economic developers and elected officials might want to talk to businesses in your community and see if they can connect with myself or one of my colleagues throughout Northern Ontario. It's a great program. It helps businesses grow. Really, our goal, as we'll see in the next slide, is to create jobs throughout Northern Ontario, and with that, be a bit more productive with our businesses, be a bit more innovative, increase revenue to our Northern Ontario towns, expand the capacity for exporting for the businesses that are in Northern Ontario. So these are all what the program strives to do, and they're ultimately what is being looked at when the applications are being evaluated. But particularly if there's one key highlight, it is that job creation and retention. So if you have a business in your town and they currently employ 5 people, and they think that a $500,000 expansion into their facility will help them build widgets to a greater extent that would help them go to 10 people, that's a great project, and you certainly should contact myself, my colleagues, and also the other funding agencies that are on this call this morning. So breaking down the Invest North program a little bit more, there are 3 streams. Andrea, next slide, we'll talk about the 3 of them. So the 3 of them are the launch, the grow, the locate stream. We'll talk about locate first. This is a quick and simple. This is a program where if there's a business, let's say Southern Ontario, Lower Mainland, BC, they think that they want to establish a plant up here in Northern Ontario, they can get into the locate program and they can access some money to help them build that new facility. It's not a program that's used all that frequently. It's I would say probably our lowest subscribed program just because of the requirements, but the program does exist. And if you know of somebody who might be inquiring to your economic development office, then have a look at the program requirements for locate and get in touch with an advisor. But what I want to focus a bit more today is on the launch and the grow programs, because they are a bit much more subscribed to. So the launch program is for businesses that are looking to launch in Northern Ontario. So if they're in their first year of business and they're looking for things like capital construction, new used equipment, they can get some money back, and that's how our programs work. All our programs work on a reimbursement basis, so they have to spend the money first, and then we will help them out on the back end by a conditional contribution or a loan, depending on the program that they're in. The GROW program is a pretty popular program that we have, and this is for existing businesses throughout Northern Ontario that might be looking to expand business. So this is a pretty typical type of program. You have a facility in your, a business that operates a facility in your community. They're looking to go, like I said, 5 to 10 people. To do that, they need a new wing of their manufacturing facility, a new production line, whatever that might be. They can come apply to us and they can get some funding specifically for that program. Again, it is on a reimbursement basis, so they would have to front the money first, and then apply back for some funding on the backside. So the next slide actually talks about the available funding for each program. So if you're launching a business, there is potentially up to 50% eligible costs, up to $200,000. If you are in that GROW program, there's 3 options. They can do a conditional contribution only, but that's for a lower amount. They can do a conditional contribution plus a term loan, or they can do a term loan only, which is bigger dollars. So here's what's eligible and what's not. The NOHFC guidebook that is available through the NOHFC website is pretty good at going through what's eligible, what's not eligible. One thing straight out, because I know it's a question that Sean, Ian, and I get all the time, is dollars for operations included in, and it's not. So operating dollars, inventory, that sort of thing, that is not an eligible cost for the Invest North program. So that's a quick and dirty overview of the private business side of things through NOHFC, and I'm going to turn it over now to my colleague Ian, who's going to go through the community side of things and what programs are available in that way. Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan. Is my audio, you can hear me okay?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay. Yeah, so next screen, please, Andrea. So community enhancement, it's designed to help build strong, resilient northern communities with infrastructure investments, upgrade and repair existing assets.
Do I give these to Paul?
Yeah, yeah, because he's got to approve them all.
I think somebody was off mute. Economic development infrastructure, strategic economic development initiatives. This has been one of our, in the last couple of years, most used programs by municipalities.
I need your input.
Sorry, can we just have everyone go on mute? What? I think it's Sue.
What?
Could we have everyone go on mute, please?
Well, what the hell is it on?
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, next slide, please. Thank you. There's 2 sort of streams. The rural enhancement is the first one we'll talk about here. Eligible is rural municipalities, Indigenous communities, not-for-profit organizations, and also local services boards with a population of less than 30,000. And examples of what is eligible is incremental improvements, repairs, renovations to improve and extend the useful life of capital assets, including social recreational facilities, municipal assets, community halls. And some specific examples could be perhaps like a new roof on a hall, a new floor, things like that, to, as I mentioned, to extend the life of a capital asset, get some more years out of a community type building. And there's also two sort of substreams. The rural enhancement one for Indigenous communities or communities with a population under 1,500. This is to help out some of the smallest population communities. And available funding is up to 90% of eligible costs to a maximum of 200,000. The other sort of substream is for communities with a population over 1,500 people. Again, conditional contribution, and 75% of eligible costs to a maximum of 500,000. And now we'll go to the next slide for the sort of larger one for larger size projects. Again, generally the same eligibility, but this is open to really any population community, any size of northern community. What is eligible? And yes, sorry, this is the Enhance Your Community stream. What is eligible? Incremental improvements, repairs, renovations to improve and extend the life of capital assets, similar to the last one. And for the Enhance Your Community stream, the conditional contribution is the lesser of 50% of eligible costs, or up to 2 million. So this may be able to assist municipalities with those larger type projects. You may or may not have other potential funding partners involved as well. And also I was going to briefly mention for the area team that I'm on, where Ryan showed the map briefly there before, is the Kenora area team covers sort of up to, looking east-west, up to Ignace, and then the Thunder Bay area team covers the other areas, including the city of Thunder Bay. And
Hello, Ian.
Yeah.
It's Rick here. You're very, very gargled in your volume.
Oh, sorry. Okay, I apologize. I'm just finishing up here anyway. We're going to move over to Sean now.
Sean Irwin here. You guys can hear me okay?
Yep, it's great.
Okay, so I'm going to go into the People and Talent program, which a lot of the municipalities remember. It used to be our intern program. It's by far the most popular program NOHFC delivers. We used to approve maybe 500 to 600 of these applications. Now we're doing, in some cases, double that. The last 2 years, the demand on this program has been incredible. I just wanted to, before I go into it, also say one thing to new counselors and things like that. Your role in these programs, don't just look at them as to how your municipality can take advantage of these programs for your old operations and projects and things like that, but also like really think about how your business community can take advantage of these. You might have a business owner that says, you know what, I want to hire this position, but I'm a little low on cash flow. I'm just waiting to build up. These programs are designed to help you with government funding so that if a business can apply, they can get a portion. It reduces their risks. It makes it more feasible for them to hire in a lot of cases, and it makes those jobs more sustainable. So our role in this, as Ryan said, is really to guide you through the process to help your private sector, to help your community and everything like that. Next slide. So the People and Talent program, there's two streams, but as a municipality, you would apply for the workforce development stream. Okay. We got you off mute, Crystal. So really the reason why there's two different streams here is the ministry wants to encourage more Indigenous job opportunities in the private sector. So the workforce development program has 90% funding for municipalities. So as a municipality, you would do that one because it's the highest possible funding portion. But as a private sector, they can apply for workforce development program for 50% funding, or they can provide or apply under the Indigenous workforce development stream for 75% funding. It was a way when we do it our program review that we wanted to encourage more opportunities for the Indigenous sector, which is very important to the minister. Some of the positions that are typically funded by NOHFC include marketing, fundraising, accounting. Big one for municipalities is economic development officer positions. We do HR, we do a lot of things like that. So if you have a position that you're thinking of doing and you'd like possible funding for, as municipalities, you're allowed up to 2 positions. And if you have separate like economic development corporations, they would be eligible for 2 as well. Nonprofits, like I said, next slide, are going to be 90% funding, which is very good. You know, you basically get a position almost free. Now that's 90% up to $35,000. Okay. But yeah, it's excellent funding. We now include MERCs. One of the distinctions between us and the FedNor program is there's no age limits on it or anything like that. So if you're looking at creating positions, or you know private sector in your community they're looking positions, we do really recommend this program. It's taken roughly a couple months to approve right now, but they can hire in advance. But a key point all new counselors have to know is any government funding, they have to apply before they start spending money or they formally hire. So under this program, you would apply and then you could hire before approved at the risk whether or not they're going to get approved, but you can start it essentially before approval. But NOHFC, it's going to be the same as FedNor, it's going to be everyone. You have to put in that first application before you spend money, or else it's automatically ineligible, which is a key point. There's really no flexibility on that in any of the programs. Next slide. So the next program is going to be our cultural supports, and we do this through events, film and television and things like that. Next slide. So this one is going to be designed, it goes over what is eligible, what is ineligible, and things like that. The community events is an excellent one. Key point being, you have to apply 16 weeks before the event. Okay. So you might have a large event you want to do in your community. It can be an annual event, that's fine. But if you're looking to grow it or things like that, this is one that you would approach NOHFC for possibly funding. So it's 30% up to a max of 15,000 for the event stream. Some examples of events we've funded are Wake the Giant in Thunder Bay, Festival of India in Thunder Bay, and the recent Northern Ontario Tourism Summit, which I know a lot of your staff or yourselves were at the Valhalla. The next one we're going to go into is the film and television program. Now, this is one that is a little bit more designed for areas like Sudbury and North Bay that have very well established filmed industries, but we're seeing more of these in Thunder Bay and the surrounding area. It's really designed not for like marketing videos of communities or things like that. It's more like documentaries, films, things like that. Example of this, one of my favorite TV shows of all time, Letterkenny. You know, it's a pretty good TV show that represents Northern Ontario quite well. Beyond Black Beauty was a film and things like that. We're seeing a lot of it out of Sudbury and North Bay, but more in our region. Next slide. So how do you get help? So there's 2 phone numbers right there. You can also just Google NOHFC. If you have economic development officers in your community, they probably know us, or what they should be doing is reaching out to us, getting a more proactive approach and things like that. But yeah, like I would really recommend your economic development staff reach out to NOHFC, know NOHFC, know FedNor. We are here to help. We want this money spent in the north. We want it spent in your communities. So think of us as that. Okay, but that's next slide. That's basically it for our section. Now we can open up to questions and see if anyone has some questions for us. Yeah, I see one question in the chat. You said municipalities get 75% funding. No. Municipalities get 90% funding. Municipalities, nonprofits, and First Nations all get 90% funding on the workforce development stream. So that's what I was saying. The different streams is really designed for the private sector hiring. So the workforce development under private sector is 50%, or the Indigenous stream is 75%, and it's up to a higher amount, okay?
All right, thank you, Cheryl, for that question. Does anybody else have some questions for Sean or Ian or
Ryan? I know we already forgot about Ryan.
I know, that's right. Sorry, Ryan.
Really, the main point is if you guys have any projects yourselves, like we've even been integrated into budgeting periods. Like you'll go through and as a municipality, you might figure out your capital project or what your projects for the year are in the planning stage. Then have your staff reach out to NOHFC and FedNor and say, hey, these are the projects we're looking at doing. Is there the potential for funding, especially the programs that that Ian brought out, the renewal program, so that you can get a big portion towards different projects. And a key change is NOHFC didn't typically do recreation before and operating assets for municipalities. And now NOHFC does that because we understand those are very important quality of life in your communities. So any opportunity you guys have, reach out, see what it is, and go from there.
Well, if there's no more questions, I'd like to thank our speakers today. Excellent presentation, guys. And